Welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked, where passion meets possibility. Here's your host, #1 Amazon bestseller, Meredith Calloway.
Hello, and welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast. I am your host, Meredith Calloway, and on today's episode, we have another Gifted Travel Network advisor, member, agency owner, who is one of our $1 million advisors. So again, someone who has represented the entire journey of getting to phase 4 of the travel business, Heather Vergara of Show Them the World. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Very excited to dig in and unpack your journey. I will tell you that I always do a little bit of research before we do these episodes. And I learned something about you going to your website. And what I love about this about you is that it really you represent kind of the new face of the travel professional. You have an incredibly impressive academic credentials, I guess. I didn't realize you are a graduate of UNC, which is where my daughter went.
Yeah, I'm from North Carolina.
I didn't realize you're from North Carolina.
Yeah.
So you have a BA, is it in marketing?
Journalism.
Journalism, that's right. You know, my husband has a degree in journalism from UNC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he has a dual degree, but I think it's kind of funny that he went into journalism because it's not really his brilliance. But anyway, he likes a challenge. Not only do you have an undergraduate degree from possibly one of the finest institutions in the USA. I'm not biased. But you have an MBA from Indiana University. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And then you also have a degree in, what is it, digital?
Well, I mean, that's not a degree, that's a certificate.
Okay.
Yeah, when I started getting back into the travel business, I looked for ways to, kind of get back into digital marketing, which had completely changed since I had
Yes.
been in the corporate
Oh,
world.
yeah.
So, that is through Columbia University.
That's impressive. Sorry. It just is. It is. So what I love about that is it exemplifies the caliber of people that are being drawn to this career path. Um, and you're seeing the fact that it's not just for, the I don't know, the old school type of travel agent. It really is a legitimate career path. And you have to have a very solid understanding of business, not just how to book and sell travel. It's not just about having a passion for travel. That alone will get you straight into that accidental hobbyist path. So, tell us about how you transitioned from, having a corporate career, very successful corporate career, leaving that to stay at home and have a family, and then transitioning into starting this business.
Yeah. Well, so as you mentioned, I have an undergrad in journalism. I've really always worked in marketing. And so I got my MBA in marketing from Indiana University. And coincidentally, I now live in Indiana, but that was not the case back then.
Right.
And so after I graduated with my MBA, over the course of 12 years, I built a big career in brand marketing. I spent 9 years with Quaker Oats and worked my way up to the senior director of marketing. And I love my brand. I love the team. But then I became a mom, and that kind of job just,
Mhm.
at least for me, did
Yeah.
not work with the life of being a new mom. I just couldn't have a job that was that demanding. And my husband's a pilot, he flies for FedEx, and so for both of us to have big jobs just was not gonna work, and so I stepped down when my firstborn was a baby. Um, and luckily, like right away, was able to do part-time consulting with
Mhm.
people that I worked with. So, I worked for brands like Gatorade, which is part of the Quaker Oats. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so Quaker Oats is now part of PepsiCo, as is Gatorade and Tropicana. So I did, work right away part-time that kind of fit within my life as a new mom and then continued that for several years working with other brands. And then we moved from Chicago to Indianapolis or outside Indianapolis, for my husband's job, and all those consulting gigs dried up.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I was, kind of like, "All right, now what?" And, I settled into just the life of a stay-at-home mom and, but, that's a struggle. It was even a struggle just to be a consultant.
Yeah.
And so, I was, like, trying to figure my way and, what's my next step? What am I gonna be when I grow up? And, we have always traveled a lot and, always knew we wanted to, instill that sense of wanderlust with our kids. And I was, we were on a family vacation and I kinda had this aha moment of like, "Okay, this is my passion." I need
Yeah.
to do something with this. And I've always been a writer, and, so I just started a travel blog because everybody, we traveled a lot and people were always like, wanting to hear more. So, um, created Show Them the World as a travel blog first, and then
Okay.
I was
Gotcha.
like, is that could that be a business, Um, and I don't know, I think it was like a year later, I was like, "Why am I giving this money away for free?" Or why am I giving
Wisdom, all this wisdom for free, yep.
Oh, right, and really, I think the impetus was I used a travel advisor for my 50th birthday trip celebration to
Mhm.
Miraval with my girlfriends, and I'm like, "Wait, why is she why am I not doing" I had this travel blog,
Yeah,
but yet I'm using this travel advisor, so, I talked to her and kinda learned how the business worked and jumped in.
yeah.
And so I turned that travel blog into a full service travel business.
Mhm.
And that was 5 years ago. And, now, here we are. I've helped hundreds of families, a multi-million-dollar business, and now have a team of advisors and, assistants that are helping me run and build this business.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. It's so, so exciting because, um, I think that the travel advisor profession especially it's so funny how, one thing that I've learned in the last year or year and a half is that, um, sometimes when you do the thing that you least wanna do, like, you're avoiding it. So for me, that was like writing a book. And now the next thing we're doing on my side is we're about to host this, virtual event next week, the Seven-Figure Travel Business Summit. And it's not that we didn't wanna do it, it's just it's a heavy lift, right? And so you really need to lean in and focus and work on the different presentations. Um, and one thing that, but it I learned so much writing my book that I didn't realize I would learn. And one of the things I learned in really leaning into this event next week and getting ready for the different content presentations is, that pre-pandemic, I have this tale of 2 travel advisors that I talk about all the time, Any Budget Betty and Luxury Lucy. Um, but I connected the dots and I realized that pre-pandemic, Luxury Lucy absolutely did better than Any Budget Betty, but really only doubled the revenue potential, which still left Luxury Lucy stuck in the accidental hobbyist trap. And that's the conundrum that Any Budget Betty is in, is that, she makes enough revenue to cover her expenses. She's stuck in that $500,000-$600,000 in sales, does not know how to grow it because she's willing to take any and all business that comes her way. Whereas Luxury Lucy gets a little bit more selective pre-pandemic, and her transaction size doubles, which doubles her revenue, but it doesn't necessarily get her to phase 4, which is 7 figures in sales and where the economies of scale really kick in. But post-pandemic, because of this massive, demand for travel that occurred because it got taken away from people for so long, there's a massive increase in demand for luxury travel now, that post-pandemic, now Luxury Lucy, the potential is, 5 to 8 times any budget Betty. And so, I guess the whole point I'm trying to make is that, post-pandemic Luxury Lucy, if you focus on luxury, that's all you really need to focus on to build a sustainable multi-million dollar business that, you know, provides a real lifestyle for people. Um, and that's what you have been able to do. Now, you started your business in 21, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I officially signed up with a different host,
Mhm. Yeah,
uh, October of 2020. So, we were still in the pandemic, but we were on our
yeah,
way. And, I didn't really start selling until, after the holidays, so the beginning of
yeah,
21. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm almost
Which
almost
was fine because there wasn't a whole lot of travel taking place in 20.
yeah. Well,
You
yeah,
started it right at the beginning of that wave.
well, I mean, it was really, I feel like I was in the right place, the right time with the right message of,
Mhm.
showing them the world right as people were like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god," I have to get back out there. I have to get back and, that revenge travel, those revenge vacations of,
Yes.
"You took this from me and now I have to get back out there." And we just happened to have a family trip planned to Hawaii. So, that's from that trip.
Okay.
Um, that, I had been to Hawaii a few times and, just really wanted to get back there with both of my kids. And, so I had that planned and I started talking about it, and Hawaii was really the only exotic place that you could go at that point because, internationally, the
Right.
world was not yet
Right.
open. So, I didn't intend on Hawaii being my specialty, but it became my specialty because
Yeah.
I joined and everybody else wanted to go. And
Right.
so that destination just really blew up, and because I was already, kind of an expert there, and I did
Yeah.
a lot of the Hawaii focused training, um, that, I became, the Hawaii guru, locally or within my network. And that's really where I built my business.
Right. Right. Um, so how did you when you first started, how did you, build your clientele?
Well, so, I had the travel blog already, and I'm
Yeah.
lucky that I live in a town that, it's called Zionsville, it's outside of Indianapolis. And, someone years ago started a Facebook group called Zionsville Travel Club.
Oh,
And,
wow.
um, so, that was just fortuitous for me, and so I could, even before I started the business, I could publish my blog stories there,
Yeah.
blog stories there. And so, really, through a combination of that Facebook group and my own social media network, that's where my business started.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing that, there's such free advertising out there with
Yeah.
media. You just have to figure out, which, social media platforms work for you and what message. And I will tell you that, having a content-rich website, that inspires people and educates people and demonstrates my credibility and expertise in travel, that really was the deciding factor because, anybody can post on
Yeah.
social media, anybody can put, a message out there on the Zionsville Travel Club, but I can link them to my website with specific
Yeah.
information that answers their question.
Yeah.
And, you know, versus someone else that's just gonna say, "Hey, call me, I'll book your trip." Who
Yeah.
are you gonna pick? And so, I definitely feel like the content that I have out there is really what sets me apart.
Yeah. I love this. It's such a good example of how people and I did this myself. I was obsessed with the silver bullet of how do I attract clients? If I could just figure out how to master client attraction, I will get my business, and it'll take off. And so I was kind of obsessed with finding like the formula, the blueprint for client attraction. And what you're saying is exactly what I discovered is that it has nothing to do like, yes, it's important to follow a strategy. Yes, it's important to understand the mechanics and the logistics of client attraction. But there's another massive aspect to this, and it's a mindset. And a lot of times the mindset is it comes about by developing different habits, more entrepreneurial habits. And what you did is you built know, like, and trust, like without realizing it, maybe, it's just second nature to you that, especially since you're a journalist, right? Like that's your degree is in journalism and you're a writer. So that you channeled that in a very practical way for your business that I once learned years ago from a coach, give them the best, they'll pay for the rest. In other words, give them the best information you have for free because that builds trust and that builds this understanding that you are an expert at something. And so your blog is what served as a way for you to build know, like, and trust, specifically the trust piece with the people in that Facebook group. And that's what converts people.
Mhm.
You just yourself in a very different way, but that's exactly what happened is you were able to link back to your blog, which had all this amazing, great information. Do you still use the blog today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I try to publish a new story, once a month. Doesn't
What's the
always
mo
happen, but, I just published one about Miraval. In fact, I finally publishing a blog story from the first time I went 5 years ago. Normally doesn't take me that long. And right now I'm working on I was just in Greece, as we talked about, so I was there, in
Yeah,
late September, early October, and I'm, working on that story right now.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, um it's definitely like, a key prong to my,
yeah,
marketing strategy. And, what I feel like is, really works for me is that content is very personal.
right.
It's not just sharing information, like it's not something that you can just do on AI. You can use AI for part of it for sure. But my very first blog store, second blog story, I think, and my most popular one is about, a Zion Bryce Grand Canyon itinerary. Not something
Wow.
that I sell,
Yeah,
it is the most popular, and it's just a very personal story about day by day. What did we do day by day, and how long was the drive? And, what did
right.
we think? I tell a story about how my son, um, panicked when we were getting ready to rappel and, how we handled that. And so, those are the stories that
Yeah,
really connect with people is where I'm sharing, my
yeah,
personal life with them.
yeah,
And I think that's can be missing sometimes in, any business is that personal connection. And I
yeah.
think that that's really what, people relate to.
Absolutely. Storytelling sells. stories definitely sell. So I have a question about how did you why did you want to switch hosts? Because that's a common thing that happens is there are thousands of host agencies. Um and that's a major decision for any travel professional is who do I host with? Um what was it that made you want to change from your first host?
Well, so when I was first starting out and I was doing the host agency reviews and, trying to figure out, what host was the best fit for me, I looked at Gifted and I was really interested. I really felt a strong connection with you guys.
Mhm.
I saw your whole leadership team and it really reminded me of, who I grew up with at Quaker and PepsiCo and um but the investment scared me.
Yeah.
And, I took the easy way out and I went quick and cheap. Um, and really quickly realized that I wasn't in the right place. There wasn't a leadership team where I was. They did not understand marketing and certainly never even talked about like entrepreneurship or business building. Um, but it just took me a while to you know, commit to moving, uh,
Yeah.
and
It's a tough
once I
decision.
that commitment, I mean, I knew I wanted to focus more on luxury. I you quickly understand that, the amount of work it takes to, service a trip is the same, whether it's a $3,000 trip or a $30,000 trip, and, um, I just don't have the time to, service hundreds and hundreds of trips. So I just needed to focus on the ones that, that I could serve better. And so I knew luxury was where I needed to, make my mark. And honestly, like when I was ready to change, it kind of was a no-brainer moving to Gifted. I kind of knew from the very beginning that that's where I wanted to be.
Mhm.
And I think it's been 2 years maybe, but,
Right.
yeah, I've never looked back. I love it.
So unpack this a little bit more for the person who doesn't understand as much about, the behind the scenes of running a travel business. You said you knew you wanted to shift into luxury. Um, so that means you have to switch hosts because, you know, not all hosts can support the luxury advisor the same way. Is that what it was? Or
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted a host that was partnered with Virtuoso,
right.
so that was part of it, but, I mean, I knew I wanted a host that, was more boutique and, wasn't just servicing the masses,
Yeah.
where I was before, I can remember them, asking everybody to go around a room and talk about what your niche is, and people said all inclusive and cruises. Well,
Yeah.
to me, that's not really a niche. Like, no one really was doing any real marketing and standing for anything and had any real messages. And I wanted a host that really knew me and could, support me as a business person, not just as a seller of travel.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, um, so you transitioned to Gifted Travel Network, and as hard as it is to move hosts once you are in the momentum of selling travel, um, it's definitely finding the right home for your business, I think is really, really important. I mean, it's a big piece of long-term success. So you tell us about your team. You have a really great team. So how many are on the team, and do you have a team of only travel advisors? Do you have an operations manager type of thing? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, and it's just recently been changing. So I have an office manager,
Okay.
And she is in the day-to-day. She works part-time, but she is, she's in my email, she's in all of my systems. So, she and I work pretty seamlessly together. I also have 3 advisors, who work part-time. They are solely commission-based. They bring in their own clients. Um,
Okay.
and then I just hired a travel designer. And so, a lot of the top producers at Gifted have this different business model. So,
Yeah.
she does not bring in her own clients. She, supports my clients,
Right.
supports me with my clients, differently than my office manager does. So she will
Right.
eventually take some of my clients,
Right.
but right now we're in the process of onboarding, and she's just kind of, living with me and my clients, and I'm
Yeah.
just making tons of training videos as we're working together so that the next person that I bring on, will be a lot easier. And then I also have a part-time or more of like a project-based, person who helps me with my digital marketing. So, like, I'll give her my blog copy and then,
Yeah.
"All right, put this in the website and get it ready for me,"
Right.
um, and then I'll finish it, and she does social
Awesome.
media too. I mean, I do a lot of the social media, but she, I'll when I go on a vacation or a fam trip or something, I'll create, shared photo albums, and she'll be posting away while I'm, working or having fun.
Yep. That's awesome. I love it. Um, for me, it's just so exciting to see when, people can start with nothing and then just create this opportunity for themselves. So now you have this business and it's sustaining you. And now you have either employees or team members where you're actually helping them live a life that, is better in some ways. So like the fulfillment comes obviously from making a difference, a positive difference in the lives of your clients. But I think another side of that fulfillment often comes from getting to the place with where you are. Like you have people on your team now, and that being on that team is fulfilling for them. So it's fulfilling for you that you can provide that opportunity.
Mhm.
Um, the what I want to take this in another direction. So what what has surprised you most about this business and this journey?
Well, I mean, how happy it makes people, really, So, in between my big corporate career and
Yeah.
this one, I just dabbled in network marketing, the
Okay. Yep.
sales,
Yep.
which was just awful. But, no one no one wants you to talk to them about like sales. And so it was like, once I started this business, it was like a breath of fresh air. Everybody wants to talk travel.
Yeah.
I don't have to sell,
Yeah.
like, I just have to put my content out there and, people come to me. There's no selling involved. I mean, I guess there is, but not in the way that people think about, like, you don't have to be salesy. And the same thing is true of building a team. I mean, my newest travel designer, I believe she reached out to me, and I'm not exactly sure how. Oh, I think a friend of hers knows one of my advisors. Um, and she lives in Florida. She's not local. She's my first
Yeah.
non-local team member, and she reached out to me. And so I was like, "Oh gosh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
so that whole
Yeah.
building a team has
Yeah.
just kind of happened organically
Naturally.
of like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I love what you're doing. I would
Yeah.
love to be a part of that."
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I just didn't expect. I mean, not that this is easy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I work all the time,
No. Mhm.
but, you know, it travel brings people so much joy, and they
Yeah.
want to be a part of it, whether that's
Yeah.
on the team or being a client or,
Yeah.
whatever it is, that part of it has been easy, and that's just so refreshing and,
So this travel designer that you just hired, she's a salary employee.
well, not a salary, she's still hourly, but yes, she's an
Okay, but yeah, still,
yeah. So
it's
she's
not
my
commission based.
first
It's an
employee.
employee. Okay. So was there some mindset weeds that came up there? Like, did that create a lot of fear of like before you made that decision of, oh my goodness, now I have this cash flow liability
Yeah.
every single month.
Yeah, well, yeah, her and my assistant just happens to be an IC, or my office
Okay.
manager. But yeah, I mean, it is a big commitment to like, oh gosh, I've got to pay everybody every month.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Um, but I mean, oh my God, I can't imagine.
It opens your world, right?
Well, right. And one of the things I wish I had done differently, so my first I guess my first hire, was an assistant, and then she became my first advisor.
Right.
Um, but and that was a great transition. But, in hindsight, I wish I had brought on a travel designer first.
Right.
Um,
Support
because,
you.
I need help with my clients, but
Yeah.
the bulk of the vast majority of the business is my clients. And when you bring on a travel advisor, who is bringing on their own clients, that's great. That's helping you build your business, but it's not helping me with my workload. In fact, it's adding to my workload as I'm
Right.
coaching and training and
Yeah.
mentoring. And so if I had to advise a new advisor who was ready to hire, hire somebody that's going to help with your workload. So that would be an assistant or an office
Yeah.
manager or, a travel designer who you're gonna feed your clients to.
You just answered a question that I didn't even ask, but I'm gonna add it to my list of normal questions on this podcast because it's such a good one. It's like, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently? I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's really good advice is support yourself first,
Yeah,
right? Before you, grow the team. Although it might have been that you 'cause it seems like these people have kind of just showed up for you very organically, as you said. So it might be that the person to support you didn't show up immediately, so but that is really, really good advice. And I think overall, the advice is, really be open to hiring ahead of your growth. And
definitely.
that's because it's a massive leap of faith to bring on someone when you're a solopreneur, but it changes your life, and I can't tell you how many times, and I'm talking to the listeners, I'm not talking to Heather, um, that, we see advisors like Heather, you know, grapple with that decision, when they're still a solopreneur, and then when they finally do it, their business not just doubles, it like triples because it just frees them up. It frees a lot of the resistance and the overwhelm and the frustration, and it makes the business fun again.
Mhm.
And
Well, and
then
you know, I would love to help advisors kind of figure that out. Like, having my office manager in my system, I think people don't understand what that means, but, I mean, it's been such a game changer,
right,
seeing her seen in my email, and I can just shoot, this email comes in, okay, that goes to Kelly. These just go over to her. She's in my Travel Joy, she's in my Travefy. She's seeing everything. That completely changes your world. She's in
right,
Sion, she handles all the commission,
right.
and I think people, as they're first thinking about it, they don't really understand how to make that leap and how to it just sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah,
What am I gonna give her? Well, you're not giving her anything, she's in there. She's
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's the right hire, is someone that you don't have to tell them what to do,
Mhm.
right? someone who gets in and like figures it out and has the initiative to be like, tell you what you should be
Oh, right,
doing.
right. Yeah, a lot of onboarding that was involved to get to this point, but I think the key is she's in there, she's seeing everything.
Yeah. Um, what what's no, I mean, we kind of talked about the struggles that you had. What is the best part of the business?
Well, one of my favorites is, I mean, aside from, like, the close relationship I have with my clients when
Yeah.
we're working together,
Yeah.
is when they're on vacation and they are messaging me and
Yeah.
sending me photos, and it's like they want me to be part of their vacation, and
Yeah.
I love that, like, they're so excited, they're so happy, and they wanna share that with me, and that makes me feel so good. I mean, these are a lot of times people that I don't know. I've never met
Yeah.
them before, and they're sending
Yeah.
me photos of them on vacation with their family. Like, how great is that?
Yeah. No, it is amazing, and I love that most of the time when I ask that question, the answer is my clients and just right? Like, I mean, how cool is it to build a business, a service-based business
Mhm.
where the best part about it is the clients that you get to work with, you
And you're
know?
making people happy,
And
like,
you're making people happy.
what other business is doing that,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're
You're you're
bringing people
yeah,
joy,
you're creating the space for them to have experiences they're gonna talk about for the rest of their lives.
right? Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah, they're
And then
reconnecting with their family and making
yeah,
memories and, there's just nothing. I mean, that's why I got into this business and,
yeah,
my kids are now, almost 18 and 14 and, our vacations are often the only times that we're actually talking and hanging out together
yeah.
and, having fun together. Because at home we're just living our lives and,
Yeah,
that's why it's just so important to prioritize vacations and, just make them a part of your life, and I'm
right.
teaching my clients to do that, like, I'm sharing, like, "Here's my travel calendar. Here's how I think about our vacation strategy," and, have allowed clients to set up vacation strategy calls with me where we kinda plot out, "Okay, here's what your future looks like. You've got
Yeah,
3 more years where all the kids are at home, what are you
yeah.
gonna prioritize?"
Just got chills when you said that because it is so important, right?
Mm.
To not, you know, it goes so fast. The days are long, but the years are short is such a true
I know.
statement. There's not a truer statement out there.
Mhm.
And, my youngest is now a freshman in college, and I'm quote unquote an empty nester. Like it's just I can't believe I'm here. Like I still like, how did that happen?
I know, I know.
I don't have to make lunches in the morning. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah, hopefully they'll even after they leave, so my oldest he'll be a senior next year in high school, like, hopefully he'll still we're gonna
Yeah,
create these amazing vacations that he's gonna wanna come back for.
yeah. I wanna hear a little bit what does your family travel calendar look like? Give us some ideas of what that
Yeah,
looks
it's a lot, it's pretty big, like, every school vacation, we are going somewhere, so,
I love that.
we were just in Hawaii for, I think, ninth trip to Hawaii. It was probably
Wow.
oldest, maybe 5th trip to Hawaii. So we were just there for fall break. So, coming up, we're actually going to the Philippines over Christmas. My husband
Wow.
is Filipino. I don't know if you can
Okay.
tell from the picture, but, and his mom, now lives back there. So we're
Okay.
finally taking the kids to the Philippines. So that's really
Wow.
that's our biggest trip with them so far, that's a long haul flight.
That is.
And then in February, we're going to Anguilla.
Oh my god.
We need to go somewhere where we all had never been, that had crystal clear water and, beautiful white sand beaches, and that
Oh,
had
yeah.
because we all
Anglora's gonna deliver on all that.
yeah, my son is, obsessed with golf, so it had to have
Cool.
golf. Uh, and we chose Anguilla, or I guess I did. I
Yeah.
thought about, like, this is a family decision. No, I might give them a couple options, but, And then spring break actually isn't planned yet. We're waiting on some friends to kind of make some decisions. But we're talking about Punta Mita, Mexico, also never been there. And then the trip I'm working on for the summer is Greece. So I was just in Greece on a fam trip and loved it. And my daughter, who's now almost 14, she was so mad that I was going to Santorini without her. Like, which is Santorini. But so anyway, I'm in the process of working with the DMC that I was on the fam trip with and am planning our own family trip there. So we will go to Santorini and Crete is the plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous. Um, I just, and in another episode, I was talking to Julianne Hargett about um, how cool it is to have raised kids to be travelers
Hmm.
and to see what a positive effect it has on their lives. I mean, clearly you're raising your kids to be travelers. You're planting that seed of that travel hungry seed in them. Um, what what kind of effect has that had on them that you've noticed as a mom?
Well, I mean, I think they're just more worldly and open to, new experiences, and
Yeah.
they're so adventurous, they'll just kind of try anything.
Yeah.
I say like, "Hey, do you guys want to waterfowl rappel in Costa Rica, or would you rather, that?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's waterfowl rappel." And then I just asked my son, I was like, "Okay, he'll graduate not this May, but next May, 27. I'm like, "Okay, where do you wanna go on your,
Yeah.
graduation trip that summer?"
Yeah.
And I gave him some options, thinking he'd, like, choose something tropical, and he's like, "No, let's go to Ireland,"
Yes.
because they've got
Oh
great
my god.
golf, but never been there before. Like, I was like, "Well, why don't we come back to Hawaii?" No, mm-mm. So,
I love that you
I
chose
don't
Ireland. I absolutely love that.
yeah, I don't know if they recognize how lucky they are, but I
Right.
think they will one day.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just
they
they
will.
haven't recognized it yet. But I will tell you, you haven't asked me this question yet, but it's one of those pinch me moments. Um,
Yes.
so last fall, we were in Italy for fall break, and, we did, the Amalfi Coast and Capri and Rome, and we were
Wow.
on the island of Capri, and, we were staying at JK Place, Capri. I don't know if you've ever been to that hotel, but it's one of the
No, have not.
um, and, we booked the, cheapest entry level room on a travel advisor rate, and they treated us like royalty, like, the moment we walked in the door and upgraded us to 2, penthouse sea view terrace suite.
Oh my gosh.
Here, my teenagers have their own penthouse terrace suite. I mean, they were looking at me like, like, "What have you done? Like, what have you built? Like, why are they treating us like this?" And I just think that they were kind of in awe
Yeah.
whole thing, and it made me feel so
Like, hit them. Oh my god, mom's the real deal.
yeah, I mean, I quit my big job, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and now I'm like, "Hey, sure,
Yeah,
I'll try travel business. I don't know if it'll work or not."
yeah.
But, I mean, I just felt like, they weren't gonna come out and say it, but I think that they were pretty dang proud that, their mom was the reason why we were being
Yeah.
treated amazingly.
It's actually perfect timing because we're right at the top of the 45-minute mark. And you answered the question, my favorite question to end with before I even asked it. So it's actually perfect timing. So great way to wrap it up. Um, Thank you so much for being on the show, Heather. Um, I hope and not only hope, I am sure you've inspired someone today. And congratulations on your success. So if anybody wants to learn more about Show Them the World, Heather's website is www.showthemtheworld.net. Is that correct?
That's correct, but they'll get there by .com too.
Yes, that's correct.
And bot.com.
All right. Well, again, thank you for being a guest on the show. Thank you for listening, everybody. And we'll see you on the next podcast.